Hello everyone, and welcome to the third webinar in our Lightning Talk series, a deep dive into the change management capabilities in Jira Service Management. I'm Blythe Ebersole, and I'll be joined by Ken Connally. We're both on the ITSM product marketing team here at Atlassian. In this session, we'll share how Jira Service Management's accelerated approach to change management helps teams deliver value to customers in a constantly evolving IT environment. Before we get into the presentation, I wanted to walk through a few housekeeping items. On a technical note, we've heard that in some cases the slides don't advance properly. So should that happen to you, try pushing F5 to refresh your page. Also note that this webcast is being streamed through your computer. So for the best audio quality, turn up the volume on your computer speakers or your headphones. We'd also love to hear from you. So please feel free to submit a question using the Q&A widget, and we'll try to get to as many as possible at the end of the presentation. Additionally, you can get in touch with us through the Atlassian community. The link is provided in the resources we've shared. Plus, there's a lot of other good stuff there with information about Atlassian's products and approach to ITSM. And finally, if for some reason you aren't already using Jira Service Management, it's totally free to try, and we're going to be going through some cool stuff today, so give it a spin already. All right, with that, let's move on. At Atlassian, we build products to help teams ship faster, keep services always on, and deliver seamless support. These are all the reasons why we've invested so much in our new ITSM solution, Jira Service Management. And the origin of Jira Service Management dates back quite a while now. As some of you know, years ago we realized that many of our customers were using Jira software to manage requests. We saw that and purpose-built Jira Service Desk to better meet their needs. Jira Service Desk ended up becoming one of the fastest-growing Atlassian products. And just as the product grew, so did our customers, who were scaling and ultimately requesting deeper ITSM functionality. We listened to those requests. All the while, we were noticing that traditional ITSM tools reinforce silos, and this was particularly true for the relationship between operations teams and their development counterparts that had adopted more agile practices. And it continues to happen, even as dev and ops teams need to work together more effectively in a software-driven world. And this is why we launched Jira Service Management, a new ITSM solution built on the Jira platform and designed to accelerate the flow of work between development and operations teams. Today, we're excited to share Jira Service Management Cloud's change management capabilities. So whether you're rolling out new services, managing existing ones, or resolving bugs in the code, Jira Service Management helps teams to practice adaptive change management, increase deployment frequency, and generate value for your customers. Now that I've gone through some background on Jira Service Management, here's our agenda for the remainder of the Lightning Talk. First, I'll share an overview of change management. Then I'll hand things off to Ken, who will lead us through a demo of change management functionality and offer tips on successfully using the Jira Service Management features. Following the demo, we're leaving some time for your questions. So again, please feel free to send those to us through the Q&A widget. Now, I wanted to take a moment to thank you all for coming again, because we know that change management isn't always considered the most fun topic. Ken actually likes to call it the eat your veggies of ITSM, because it's so important, but at the same time, it's often just so unpalatable. For our health, we'll do it though. Eat the vegetables for nutrients and practice change management so that we can meet regulatory requirements and coordinate across sometimes misaligned teams. But the question stands, is there some way to make this all less nasty? Shipping fast seems at odds with reliability. Teams have different priorities and work styles. Can we overcome those? We conducted research to understand the current state of change management, speaking with numerous organizations about their practices and learning just how much friction change management has created between dev and ops teams. We came across common pain points in change management that are keeping teams from functioning at their best. Time and again, we heard these themes. First, change management is slow. A team builds something and then waits for it to eventually make its way to approval. This is often through a process that involves people who are far removed from the original work. And it's becoming more of an issue in the dynamic environment we all operate in, where providing a superior customer experience is a key differentiator and shipping value faster becomes critical to success. Next, we heard that it's work-intensive and manual. Frequently, companies require people to input redundant information in different tools. Frankly, this is in tools they dislike. A major grocery store chain that was attempting to adopt more DevOps practices shared that their corporate IT team had required all their developers to input change requests through ServiceNow. A typical developer was spending roughly 20 minutes filing each change request. With 4,000 requests a month, even on small, inconsequential changes, the team estimated that this manual work was costing at least $400,000 a year. And that figure doesn't account for damage to morale. And finally, change management is riddled with risks that are hard to assess. The consequences of a bad change can be staggering, and it's often difficult to gauge the potential fallout from a change. Moreover, many organizations embrace practices and tools that exacerbate risk. One event ticketing company told us about a slow and disparate email system they had been using that was leading to outages, basically because they didn't have a centralized platform tracking their changes. At the same time, weighing risk against innovation is a delicate balance. We want to avoid worrying too much about incidents and stifling innovation. Teams also face the risk of becoming too slow. Traditional change management processes are not helping with this. The State of DevOps report noted that heavyweight, formal processes show no evidence of lower change fail rates. In fact, they even introduce new risks when releases become overly slow and large. Now, this summary of pain points doesn't do enough justice to the frustrated developers and operations teams who are exhausted by friction caused by outdated change management processes. We think their pain is unnecessary, and we've set out to address it. That's why we're thrilled to introduce change management for the DevOps era in Jira Service Management. To avoid change management bottlenecks, we've included stronger integrations with software workflows, a risk assessment engine powered by Jira Automation, and advanced approval capabilities. We also sought to unburden teams and reduce manual workloads with the ability to automate low-risk changes and to track and gate deployments from popular CI/CD tools. And we've built an open platform that brings visibility to work and makes it easy to practice more collaborative change management with full context available for every change to reduce risk and restore service rapidly when necessary. So now I'll pass things over to Ken, who will show how Jira Service Management, along with Jira Software, Bitbucket, and Confluence, helps teams deliver value to customers in a constantly evolving IT environment by accelerating their change management practice.
Thanks, Blythe. So, as Blythe mentioned, we know that developers want speed and flexibility when it comes to tracking changes. So today we're going to show you a few ways we enable that speed and flexibility. And then later, we'll go behind the curtain to show you how it all works. So first, let's imagine a development team has done a bunch of work to fix a bug. It's gone through QA and they're ready to move it to production. So we'll first start by showing the task in Jira Software where the developer is working on the fix. And here it is here. Now from here, a developer could do something like commit the code fix from Bitbucket, which would trigger our change automation capabilities. So let's go ahead and do that. And once we've committed the code, we'll go ahead and enter the Jira Software issue key in the commit message. And what this will do is it will automatically link this commit to the Jira Software issue in the development backlog. And the next thing that'll happen in parallel with that is that the automation will create an associated change record. So we'll go ahead and refresh the screen and take a look. And here's our commit. And here is our change record. And we'll go into the change record, and you'll note that the change record has not only been created, but it has all the relevant change information, such as the deployment info, the change type, and the change risk. And because this type of change was defined as a pre-approved standard change, the automation automatically moved the change record to complete it. I mean, it really doesn't get much faster than that. But let's back up and say that this was a normal change, and we need to get some approvals. For that, we have a couple of options. So we could go to the portal and request a change there. And from here, you'll be able to see all of the relevant information that you could enter about the change. And then once you submit it, it would flow through the normal way. And in the interest of time, we'll just switch over to one that I have prepared to look at for reference. And here is what one would look like in that scenario with all the fields filled in. So from here, again, this record could flow through the workflow in a traditional way, including getting any approvals that you need. I want to also point out that for changes like these, where coordination is necessary, you can leverage a change calendar app from our marketplace, such as this one, which is Calendar for Jira, in order to see any potential scheduling collisions this change might have with things like maintenance windows or other changes, of course, thus helping with change planning and incident avoidance. So this is functionality we hope to have out of the box in the near future. So you could go that route, or you could leverage the automation we used earlier to detect that this type of deployment requires a normal change and an approval. So we'll head back over to Bitbucket, and we'll see that here we're going to be the developer again, and we will execute another commit. Except in this case, the deployment has stopped due to the needed change. So we'll go ahead and click into the change record, where you can see that this change record has indeed been created and needs an approval. And you'll also note that the approvers have once again been added automatically based on the service affected. And then once approved, the deployment can now be moved to implementation, and that action will release the deployment to fully execute. And heading back over to Bitbucket, we'll see the deployment execute there, and we're done. And looking back at the change, the automation, now that the deployment has completed, will also move the change record to completed. Now we're showing Bitbucket here, but we also support Jenkins with more tools coming soon. Now, as you might imagine, these techniques will save your developers hundreds of hours in a year by reducing application bottlenecks and keeping your developers focused on what they do best and not writing documentation or executing an arduous approval process. So the next thing we'll take a look at is a Confluence change template. These help teams streamline the change process by allowing continuous and effective collaboration about a change all through its lifecycle, making traditional CAB meetings a thing of the past. You'll also notice that you can directly link records on the page, again, enabling two-way streamlined workflow. So now let's go back to the change record and take a closer look. Now, as I mentioned, you have fields here that are driven by automation, such as the change type. And I want to point out that even though we're showing a normal change here with approvers, you could just as easily have set one up in your service portal for a pre-approved standard change, which is something we encourage to help further streamline work. Next is the change risk and the change approvers, and those fields are both keyed off of the affected service field, seen here. And down below is the link to the Confluence page showing the change details. There is also the option to create additional related records or tasks as necessary. And of course, you can tag others to collaborate on the change. I also want to point out that, like before, the included workflow is flexible, so you can adjust it or create your own to support your particular change practice. Okay, so now that we've gone through a few use cases, let's take a look at how it all works. So first, let's take a look at that workflow. As you'll note, there are paths for standard, normal, and emergency changes, along with the statuses to support those paths. And you can, of course, configure these to suit your own needs. Now next, let's head over to see how the change is linked to Bitbucket. And here, in the change management settings, you can see the environment that you want to apply the automation to, the type of request or change record that you want to create when the automation fires, whether or not to apply gated deployments, which, along with the automation, is what determines if a deployment uses the standard path or the normal path. And here are the workflow statuses to move to when a change is approved or declined, and which service is connected to which repository. Additionally, if you look in these repositories, you can also set which branches use gated deployments for further granularity. And in this case, we're allowing all branches. Now let's head back and look at the automation. So here you'll note that 3 rules will be provided to you out of the box. The first sets the change type and the change risk based on the tier of the service. The second transitions the change to the next status based on the deployment status. And the third checks for low-risk changes to create a standard change, again, based on the service. And of course, you can configure these to your liking and add or remove additional automation rules as you need. Now, as I've been mentioning all along, services are what tie all of this together. So let's take a look at the service configuration. So here we're looking at the Bankly service, along with the relationships to any other services. And as you can see, billing is a dependent service. But really, I want to call your attention to the area on the right, where several things are set that drive the automation that you saw in this demo. The first is the tier. This is a measure of the service's business criticality. So for Tier 1, it would set the risk to high. Next is the Incident Responders team, which isn't applicable to this demo, but if you're interested in our incident management capabilities, please check out one of our other lightning talks, which takes a deep dive into incident management. So next up is the Change Approvers group. So this is where the automation populates the approvers when that change reaches the review step. So here you can see the project the service is associated with. And lastly is the repository the service is associated with, which you also saw on the change configuration earlier. So hopefully this starts to stitch together, how the service ties all of this work together. And as a bonus, because you're tying all of this work together, you're not just streamlining your change process, you're also enhancing your incident management process. So we'll head over here and take a look at a major incident investigation. And as you can see, here is the service, and here are the deployments associated with that service, including the ones that we just did. So this gives your incident response team crucial information about the service should an incident occur because of a change. And with that, we round out our tour of change management. Back over to you, Blythe.
Thanks, Ken. That wraps up the demo showing how Jira Service Management streamlines the change management process so you deliver value to your customers faster while managing risk. We hope you found these new features valuable, and we'd really value your feedback. Feel free to reach out to us through the Atlassian Community Forum that's linked in the resources. And lastly, I want to mention that we have more change management features coming soon. Looking forward, our roadmap includes a native change calendar, closer integrations with Jira software, additional incident management functionality, and stronger integrations with partners like Circle CI and Octopus Deploy. Stay tuned! And now we have time to answer a couple of questions from the chat, so please go ahead and submit questions now if you haven't done so already.